Most people are born into a structure of invisible games, systems of approval, dominance, and control that shape their lives long before they learn the rules. These games don't require your consent to be played. From the schoolyard to the boardroom, from families to romantic bonds, you're often cast into roles without knowing it, expected to conform, obey, react. You're conditioned to seek safety through agreement, validation through compliance. But beneath all of this lies a quiet truth. You're not living freely. You're being moved. And those who understand this structure, those who know how to play, often hold the advantage. Not because they're cruel, but because they've stopped pretending the game doesn't exist. To be played is to be steered by forces, people, or systems that exploit your unawareness. The friend who flatters to gain control, the boss who manipulates through praise, then demands more. The partner who gives just enough attention to keep you in place. These aren't isolated events. They are psychological tactics. And the deeper question is no longer about morality. It's about position. Machiavelli asked what every honest person must ask. Is it better to be feared, loved, or ignored? Because in a world that quietly thrives on advantage, neutrality is submission. The moment you recognize this truth, the dynamic changes. You stop reacting and start calculating. Because once you see the game, you don't have to stay the pawn. Section 1, the essence of the game. They won't come to you with chains, they'll come with compliments. The modern manipulator rarely uses threats, because flattery is more efficient. When someone praises your work too eagerly, when they go out of their way to agree with your opinions, it feels good. But that warmth is often transactional. Guilt is their second tool. They remind you of what they did for you, even if it was unasked. Now you owe them. Then comes control through kindness, when help is offered not out of care, but as leverage. You accept, and suddenly, you're in their debt. These tactics don't shout, they whisper. The key to understanding manipulation is this. It doesn't feel like control. It feels like obligation, charm, emotional tension. But the outcome is always the same. Someone else is steering your reactions. You're responding to their pressure, not your own clarity. You become easy to read when you live without awareness. They notice patterns, how you crave approval, how you hate conflict, how you chase comfort. Once predictable, you become programmable. Machiavelli said rulers must learn to appear virtuous, even when they're not. In modern life, it's the same. People don't need pure intentions. They just need you to believe they have them. They will mirror your values to gain your trust. They'll shape their image just enough to seem loyal, then slowly shift the terms of the relationship. It's not malice, it's utility. The world favors those who can manage appearances. And if you're too honest, too open, too reactive, you become prey in a world run by actors. They exploit your simplicity, not because you're weak, but because you're transparent. And transparency, without discretion, is vulnerability. You never realize you're in a performance until you're being outperformed. Scroll through social media. You'll see curated vulnerability, polished outrage, and smiles crafted to trigger your validation loop. You're told who to admire, who to envy, who to become. In workplaces, the most manipulative person is rarely loud. They're strategic. They form alliances, plant subtle doubts, praise when it serves them, and vanish when accountability appears. In friendships, you'll meet those who only show up when you're useful, but disappear when you're in need. They remember your emotional buttons and push them just hard enough to keep you compliant. You're not crazy. You're being guided, shaped, nudged. Not through force, but through familiarity. They've studied your needs more than you've studied their intentions. That's how people gain power over you, by knowing more about you than you do. If you don't question your own responses, someone else will control them for you. Now let's learn how to reverse the current. How to become the one who plays the game, not the one played by it. Section 2. The rise of the player. You've been taught to see manipulation as something dark, dishonest, even cruel. But that's because the word strategy makes people uncomfortable. In truth, what you call manipulation, others call preparation. The player doesn't lie to harm. They withhold to protect. They don't control others to dominate. They shape outcomes to avoid becoming collateral. Life has rules, but very few people read the rule book. And those who do, they know that the world doesn't reward pure intention. It rewards effective positioning. Reframing manipulation as strategy allows you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of mind games and start becoming a student of human nature. Strategy is simply the ability to think long-term, read people without projecting your own ideals, and make decisions based on consequence, not emotion. When you shift from reacting to calculating, you've already begun your rise. They study you before they move. So why aren't you doing the same? Machiavelli warned rulers to know their enemies, not through hatred, but through understanding. In your case, enemies aren't always obvious. Sometimes they smile at you. Sometimes they work next to you. And sometimes your enemy is your own impulse to trust too quickly. You must learn to observe before you speak, to identify patterns before you form attachments. They can only use your openness against you if you leave it unguarded. One of the oldest Machiavellian principles is to hide your intentions, not because you're plotting evil, but because openness makes you predictable. You don't owe anyone your emotional roadmap. In fact, the less they know about what drives you, the more control you have over how you're perceived. Influence begins in silence, not speech. Charm isn't just about being likable, it's about timing. Calculated charm is knowing when to disarm, when to distract, and when to let others underestimate you. It's never about being fake, it's about being intentional. People respond more to tone, confidence, and consistency than to content. If you speak less, but mean more, you create space for impact. This is where selective truth becomes powerful. You don't have to lie. You just have to decide which truths deserve your voice. Every word you speak is either a tool or a leak. The player understands this. They observe before reacting. They let others reveal themselves first. The fool rushes to prove something. The strategist lets people walk into their own patterns. You win not by controlling people, but by letting them show you who they are and adjusting accordingly. They want you reactive, because a reactive mind is easy to read. But emotional control is your first form of self-defense. It's not about suppression, it's about timing your expression. The player doesn't show their full hand, not out of fear, but because power lies in the unknown. You don't need to dominate a room to influence it. Sometimes the quietest person is the one everyone watches. Start with small disciplines. Say less when angry. Observe more when confused. And give people space to reveal their agendas before you reveal yours. Gradually, your silence will become louder than their words. You'll begin to notice things others miss. And that shift from exposure to awareness is how you reclaim the script. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming clear. Section 3. Flipping the script. They'll tell you that if you study power, you'll lose your integrity. That strategy is for the ruthless, and awareness will make you cold. But that's a fear-based lie. The truth is, You don't lose your soul when you become strategic. You protect it. Machiavellian awareness doesn't demand deception. It demands discernment. You stop giving your time, energy, and trust to people who haven't earned it. You stop reacting out of guilt or fear. You start asking, what's the cost of this decision? What's the intention behind their words? Strategy doesn't corrupt you. It sharpens you. You can remain honest, but you don't need to be naive. You can be kind. But kindness doesn't mean saying yes to manipulation. When you finally see how the game works, you can walk into every room with your eyes open and still leave with your values intact. You're constantly offered shortcuts. Win the argument, dominate the moment, impress the crowd. But those are traps. Machiavelli warned about this. Short-term victories often cost long-term positioning. A clever tactic might win the day, but lose the war. Real influence isn't built by proving yourself quickly. It's built by outlasting those who burn out chasing attention. Detachment becomes your armor. You no longer need to prove your worth to people who don't recognize it. Patience becomes your weapon. You don't chase applause. You let results speak. Timing becomes your leverage. You don't interrupt chaos. You wait until the storm clears and then make your move. Playing with purpose isn't about being flashy. It's about being unshakable. The player who lasts is the one who knows the value of silence, the weight of a well-timed decision, and the cost of rushing a plan. You were born with instincts, but you were taught obedience. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that following was safer than questioning. But here's the final shift. Life is a game. Yes, but you get to choose your style of play. Will you be reactive, emotional, and easy to move? Or will you be intentional, observant, and self-directed? Being strategic doesn't mean becoming ruthless. It means becoming aware. It means no longer giving your power to people who play dirty while you pretend the game doesn't exist. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world trained it out of you. Power with purpose. Strategy with soul. That's not manipulation. That's maturity. Just ask yourself this. If they taught you to be a pawn, who taught them to be the player?